tell you, when I first met him and we were talking about him traveling around and doing all these talks and everything, particularly to the farmers, we'd cover northern Minnesota, we'd cover northern North Dakota, all of eastern North Dakota, go down to Minneapolis, some South Dakota, even into Canada a little bit, once or twice. And early on, now I hadn't traveled with him that much. Okay, and early on, we're coming back from St. Cloud or somewhere near there, and we stop in Fergus Falls to eat. And we sit there, we get our food, we come back, we sit down. There's a man and a woman sitting at the table behind us. I hadn't thought anything about it. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden, I'm just shocked out of my seat. She's screaming, "You're the weather guy! You're the weather guy!" all of a sudden behind me, because she recognized him from public television. So someone said something about E.F. Hutton a while ago. I wanted to give you an example of that too, because that was amazing. It involves ag winds. Okay, so here we have ag winds. We have a number. We have like 200, 300, 400 people in the U.S. using ag winds. We have a couple in Mexico, and then what I believe to be one person in Israel trying to reverse engineering. But nevertheless, that's what I think they were doing, Leon. And there were 3 people in Canada. Now keep in mind, ag winds only dealt with the 48 continuous states. Okay, so it didn't give weather in Canada. I don't know why they had it, but nevertheless, or Israel for that matter. But nevertheless, they had copies of ag winds. So then this radio station wanted to do a radio, with him to talk about ag winds. And within 3 days, there were another 200 new users in Canada. Again, there's no Canadian weather on it, okay? But nevertheless, we had to send out 200, new copies of the software to people in Canada. So the E.F. Hutton effect applied to radio as well. They already knew him. And we traveled all over the place. And that was interesting, particularly when it was 55 miles an hour. This man does not speed. I'm talking about birds passing us, okay? And 2 now, you got to understand where we went. So we take a little trip down Highway 2, that's fine, in both directions, an hour or so. We go down south, and then he wants to go all the way to Missoula at 55 miles an hour. Oh, that wasn't it. Then later it's northern Kentucky. And you don't stop, you just drive straight through. Okay, no, but it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. We traveled all over the place. We did this. Oh, and you were talking about going to Washington, D.C. with his mentor, because I heard a lot about John. And I got to meet John. I even had him call me up and yell at me once. It was about the television portion thing. But nevertheless, I went to Washington, D.C. in 1975, didn't go back. And yet, in 98, I went 12 times, with Leon and without him. We went to Washington, D.C. a lot. There's one gentleman we visited with quite a bit, and not to mention Sarah Garland and the group. But let's focus. There was one thing I'm sure a lot of you don't know about ag winds, all the talk about farmers and what it provided and everything, but there's a whole nother industry that was using ag winds, because I just ran across it totally by accident when they thought it was going to get shut down at Y2K. Windsurfers. The windsurfers was using ag winds to determine where they were going to go to windsurf. Who knew it? See, there's another industry you touched. Okay? I don't know how big it is. All right? But nevertheless. So ATWIZ became the focus beginning in the mid-90s. The Advanced Transportation Weather Information System. And from that was born Pound Safe, which was about to build its 4th state when Federal Highway jumped in and caused the price of that to double. They came in and said, we're going to make 511 and everything, which really was a good thing to do, don't get me wrong. It's just that the minute the government got in, all of a sudden the cell phone companies that were doing everything for free decided they'd charge for it. They're back to free now, so everything works out, in the end. But this was an adventure, all right? This was an opportunity. This was a situation where the best way I can describe it is this, okay? There are pioneers and there are settlers. And a pioneer does things where there's no proof it'll be successful. There's no evidence that it'll work. There's no numbers to crunch. There's no guarantee of success. And they prove that it'll work. And then the settlers come in now that they have the proof. That's what 511 was to the University of North Dakota, to Meridian, all brought to you by Leon Osborne. That's what that was. He was the pioneer, and all the settlers now, we're still fighting with them, so, you know, some of them. We got rid of a few, but then they just keep coming back. So, you know, he focused Federal Highway through many trips on rural transportation. Their focus was congestion. I got to save 10 minutes getting to and from home and work in Washington, D.C., in New York, in Boston. And instead, 60% of the deaths were out there on the rural highways. And he got them to focus on rural transportation. There became a national conference on rural transportation that was created out of this. This is all affecting multiple commercial entities across the nation. So when we talk private industry, this is huge. Billions of dollars. And this was an effect. And he was always quick to say, well, yeah, UND did this. UND, UND, UND. That's what he focused on. It was always from UND. Well, I'm here to tell you, yeah, UND allowed Leon to do it. Okay? That's what it amounted to. But the fun part's traveling with Leon. He's the only person I know I can get on a plane with a schedule, and I can now ignore that schedule. Because I don't know what happens to him in aircraft, but it's a nightmare. So in future, because I'm still looking for research for you, you know, so, you know, you keep Arwick busy, so in the future, if you work with him, have to travel with him, take a different airplane. And just wait for him when you get there. Okay? It'll just be easier that way. So I'm going to pull out my broken glasses now. And I'm going to read something I've been asked to share with y'all. Hey, some of us, you know, they broke right before I came. What can I tell you? Okay. Leon has always been a visionary, with a smile and a sparkle in his eye. Leon and the weather analytics company he created was a pioneer in 3 industry-changing technologies: 511 roadway information systems, agriculture analytics, and pavement management to manage the nation's snowplows. Just these innovations alone should propel Leon into the panoply of great inventors. But Leon is also a mentor, a leader, an educator, and a great boss. In 2012, Meridian Environmental Technologies began its next phase of life when Leon and Kathy company was acquired by Owens Incorporated, a NASDAQ-listed company in Southern California. This letter's from Owens. I don't know why they feel like they got to say that every time. A North Dakota company and a California company may seem to make strange bedfellows, but through Leon and Kathy's leadership, the original Meridian Environmental Technologies team has not only survived, but it has thrived, growing to nearly 100 strong. The company continues to grow to benefit Leon's foresight and vision. A lifetime of impact is just the beginning for the ideas Leon has originated, the science he has invented, and the people he has touched. For the 400 people at Owens, the Owens Board of Directors, the 100 Grand Forks-based souls who work every day to pursue a legacy created by Leon, we all thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the impact you've made in so many lives. That is from Owens. From me, Leon, personally, thank you so much for the adventure, the excitement. Do you know, I can't explain to you what happened, but I'm going to tell you because I've only told a couple of people. But in 2001, I designed a completely new way for us to do this, but it was going to cost a fortune. And these 2 people went out and signed loans based on my idea. And the next thing I know, we were doing this together, and they took a huge risk And at that point, there was no way I was ever not going to stand beside both of y'all. You too, John, but you know. So, Iteris did send a little something, but I wanted to add my personal thanks, Leon.